Good morning. I'm J. Lenora Bressler, and this is the November 28th, 2018 edition of the Bible Delight in the Details, the third in our programs on the Advent season. We were talking about that the first of the Advent candles is the purple candle of hope, also known as the prophet's candle. And on this first Sunday, normally, of the Advent season, the emphasis would be on the messianic prophecies in the Bible and how the prophets gave hope to people through their inspired word that a Messiah was coming. Now, I want to look for a moment at one of the most fascinating passages of prophecy, and that comes from Daniel chapter 9, verse 25. Now, one of the things that a lot of people don't realize is that around the time of Christ, there was great excitement and there was a feeling, not just among the Jews, but among people everywhere in all different cultures, that somebody was about to be born that was very significant. We know this even from the Roman writers. There was just this sense, this building sense that there was going to be a child born that was going to be particularly significant, and not just for one area of the world, but for the entire world. Now, why was this? Well, for one thing, the Magi, as we know, were very, very important people in the ancient world. We're going to have a whole program, or actually several programs, on the Magi and who exactly they were. But they were the kingmakers. They were very wise people that were called in by kings, by officials in countries all over the world to give advice and counsel. Now, these Magi actually, we believe, came from the area that used to be the Babylonian Empire. And we know that Daniel, when he was taken from Judah, was made, actually wound up being the head of the Magi. It says it right there in the Old Testament. And so he would have told his fellow Magi, and they kept alive all of the Magi writings and all. So for 500 years since Daniel, the Magi would have known about this idea of a Messiah coming and would have kept that alive. In case you've ever wondered, why would these pagan people, these pagan wise men care about the birth of a child in Israel? It's because their greatest, most famous Magi, the chief Magi, Daniel himself, had prophesied about his coming. Now, in Daniel 9:25, the Lord said to Daniel, "It is important you know and understand that from the decree going out to rebuild and restore Jerusalem until the coming of the Messiah, the leader, is 7 weeks, then 62 weeks." Now, what does that mean? The weeks are actually years. And in case you're thinking, well, why would that be? The Jews had a tradition of understanding that. They celebrated a Sabbath year every 7 years. And so they had a preconception of thinking about years like weeks, because there's 7 days in a week, and so they often would talk about weeks being the equivalent of years. Now, what is the rebuilding deal? As you know, the Assyrians took away the Israelites from the northern kingdom. Then the Babylonians captured Judah years later. When the ruling class and the royal family was taken into Babylon, this was the time of Daniel and the 3 boys in the fire, remember, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They were there for 70 years. They had been told, it had been prophesied through Jeremiah that they would be in that captivity for 70 years. But then something was going to happen. Well, what happened was, we know from Nehemiah that King Artaxerxes allowed Nehemiah to go back to Jerusalem and rebuild and restore Jerusalem. Now, we know from non-biblical scholarship when Artaxerxes' reign was, and we're told in the Bible that this proclamation to go back and restore Jerusalem came into the 20th year of his reign. Because we know when his reign started, we know that the 20th year of the reign, when the proclamation was given, was 455 BC. So if you say, okay, 69 times 7, right? 69 weeks, meaning 69 times 7 years from then the coming of the Messiah. Now that would put it roughly somewhere in the 29 CE kind of place. Now you might say, well, that's not when Jesus was born. He was born back in 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, something like that, BC. Yes, that's true. But the leadership is when a Messiah, or in any Jewish man, frankly, if he was going to have any leadership position, had to be 30 years old. That's why Jesus's public ministry began when he was 30 years old, because that was when, under Jewish custom, the men were believed to be mature and whole enough and with enough worldly experience to be worthy of being a leader. And so, if you are waiting for the Messiah, then you're going to take the year when he's going to become a leader, back it up at least 30 years, and that's when you'd be looking for his birth. If you've ever wondered, why were Zechariah and Anna at the temple waiting to see the Messiah? And Zechariah saying, now I can depart in peace. Your servant can depart in peace because my eyes have beheld the Messiah. When Joseph and Mary brought Jesus as a little tiny baby to be dedicated in the temple, why would he have been waiting and really thinking any day he was going to see a baby that was the Messiah? That is why. Another little detail that makes the Bible just come so alive, and it has the ring of truth because it is true. Join me on the next edition, and a special Advent edition of the Bible. Delight in the details. Have a great day.